For ambitious dads caught between work and home, this is where you find your footing. Here's your host, Jeff Hittner.
Welcome to the Ambitious Dads Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Hittner. You know, after more than 200 conversations with fathers, I realized we're just not talking enough. Not about our fears, our ambitions, how our kids are really doing, or how we're holding up in the middle of all of it. This podcast is for the dads trying to build something meaningful and be present at home. The ones caring a lot, questioning if they're doing enough, and craving honest conversations without the filters. If that's you, you're not alone. You are in the right place. Let's figure this out together. And today we have a wonderful guest. His name is Edward Rivera. Edward is an entrepreneur, a mentor, a small business owner, and most importantly, a father of three. And your three, Edward, are still young. You have what? Tell us, an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old, right?
Oh yeah. I'm at the beginning. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But I thought I had more time too, because like my 8-year-old, she's like 8, but going on like 16. You know what I mean? She's like wants to be independent and just like make all decisions. I'm like, I don't know, I'm trying to keep up here. I thought I had more time, you know.
And are you like, is it girl, boy, girl? What do you have?
Ellie, 8, girl, David, son, and then Adrian, 1. So 1 girl, 2 boys.
Awesome. And does your oldest, does she help out, or is she more doing her own thing?
Man, she's such a good, just like, I don't know what you call it, caretaker or something like that. Like yesterday, I don't know what it was. Like I said, I had a crazy day and I got home and I was just like exhausted and I just had a headache. I wasn't really feeling good. And immediately she like, I'm on the couch, you know, she brings me a blanket and a pillow and some water.
What?
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you're so sweet. You know what I mean? Like she's such a good big sister to like her other 2 brothers. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And she's just so sweet. She's always trying to help. You know, I love it.
I mean, I'd like to think my oldest does that, but then he would also just like jump on my chest and and beg me to do something very active. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds
very
like
cool.
Adrian.
Yeah.
Adrian likes to slap.
Yep. Oh, yes. So tell me what, like, with you got 3 kids, you run a business. Tell us a little bit about what your day is like in general.
Well, now like present day, it's pretty great. You know, it wasn't always like that. My business is going to be 10 years in this September, and took a lot of grinding, man, to really be intentional on where I want to take my business. Really, for me, it was like not necessarily like only where I want to get the business to go, but where I want to be like personally. You know what I mean, with my family and stuff. I was like, I got to keep that in mind while I'm growing this. I don't want to be that guy 20 years deep, right? Didn't know his kids and stuff, you know? So it's nice that like I was able to take off the hats over the years where I wake up now, like this morning, woke up, you know, I usually have some extra time in the morning before the family wakes up, you know, make some breakfast, you know, do some stretching. I didn't get a chance to get to the gym yet, but I'm going to go after this. But I usually have my time for myself in the mornings, which is nice. I need that. And then my kids are usually waking up a couple hours after. Then we're hanging out. You know what I mean? I try to be intentional on me time, my kids, and then I'll start the day. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's kind of how it normally is. You know, and usually I start my day around a little later in the morning, like 10, 11. But at that point, I'm just working on the business and not in it anymore. You know what I mean? I'm looking at new partnerships and stuff like that. But again, I like my kids. They come to my office. They hang out with me here. You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to see if I can make both work, but respecting both. Like they know if I have some important stuff to do, we have a conversation like, hey, I know you like to come down and hang out with me, but like even this morning, I have an important call I'm going to be on. I was like, so I just need some quiet. You know what I mean? If you guys want to hang out upstairs, watch TV, that's fine. I was like, but I need that time. You know what I mean? So just communication with the kids, letting them know like, yeah, dad's here. We get to hang out, but I also have chunks where I do need to kind of get serious, do some work. But then as soon as we're done, we can hang out again. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I'm trying to balance out, you know what I mean, throughout the day.
Talk a little bit about, so your own story, like you didn't really have your dad so much in your life, right? And so that's really, yeah. Talk a little bit about that and how that's defined how you father now.
Absolutely. And I love my dad. Like, we have a great relationship now. And it wasn't like he was like mean or anything. It was just he used to build houses and he was gone like all the time. And then he also had this had this problem of like always trying to defend friends and family and stuff, meaning that if someone messed with one of my cousins or something, he would go and get in a big fight and stuff. So it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So end up in jail, you know what I mean? And so there was a lot of this traveling for work or getting in fights and ending up in jail. And it ended up just time going by, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, cool. I get to see my dad every once in a great while, you know what I mean? And so I always told myself, like, when I have a family and kids, like, I'm going to do my best to try to be there as much as possible. It's almost like a passion to overcorrect almost, which sometimes, like, or at least in the past, it's like, hey man, you got to actually get back to work. But I'm so like having fun hanging out with the friends and family, you know what I mean? Because it's almost like I was trying to make up for those years, you know what I mean? When I was a kid. And so, yeah, it was just one of those things where as I got older, I went through a phase of like being like, upset with both my parents, because it was the same thing with my mom too. Similar thing. I was actually kind of raised by my grandmother, my grandparents. I considered her like my mom, and it felt like more of like my parents were like friends. Like they were like these older brother and sisters. You know what I mean? That's kind of, it's just how it felt. But as I grew older, I kind of got over like the resentment, and I was mad at them for a while. And I was like, you know what? Like, I only have one life. Like, I would love to have a relationship with my parents, my kids with their grandparents. Just been really working on my relationship with both of them over the last few years. They live in Arizona still. I'm in New Hampshire. So we try to hop on the call as much as possible. We talk, video chat. I'm hoping to try to go out there soon. But yeah, it definitely has helped shaped the father I am today, with how much attention I put into them, because I didn't get it so much when I was younger.
Are there some triggers and such from your dad? It sounds like he had a bit of a temper, if I can guess right from that perspective. And how do you like notice some of those tensions inside you when you go to try to be the opposite with your kids?
Yeah, so he didn't really have a temper like with us. He was a very like chill dude. You know what I mean? So it was weird because like he looked scary, right? He's a scary dude. He had tattoos and stuff. You know what I mean? Big guy. But he was gentle. Like he cooked, he baked cakes and stuff like that. He was a gentle guy. But man,
I love it.
if you mess with his family though, it was like, it's game over. You know what I mean? And so I noticed something similar in me where like, we'd be like driving somewhere. And if I have one of the kids in the back and someone cuts me off, immediately I go into this mode of like, oh my God, freaking screw this guy. You know what I mean? And so I want to just like get super angry and mad. But when that happens, I'm like, all right, man, you know what I mean? Like, chill out. It ain't worth it. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen where your dad has gone when he's gotten mad, flipped out on people, messing with other people and stuff. I'm like, it's not worth it, man. I'm like, do you want to be here tomorrow? Do you want to be here next week? Like, don't go down this path. So I'll have this inner dialogue, like right in the moment too. Of like, all right, calm down. It's not a big deal. Who knows what that person's doing? You know what I mean? Just let them go. So it's like a constant everyday trying to catch those little things of like, hey man, it ain't worth flipping out on this person. And it's really not like that much today anymore. It was more in the beginning when I was trying to figure myself out and trying to figure out how to be a parent and balance it all, right? It's a lot at the same time.
Did those beautiful inner monologue conversations happen naturally, or did you get therapy, or like, especially as you talk about like sort of forgiveness and building a new relationship with your parents, how did that all come about?
It was a little bit of therapy. I think it was far back than I can remember when we're staying with my mom in Winslow, Arizona, a tiny little town. And I forget exactly what happened, but we ended up, my mom and all my sisters, we ended up going to like therapy. I think it was like a family therapist or something. But there was moments where, we had to kind of do sessions together, but like sessions like by ourselves, and there was a moment I remember talking to one of the ladies and she was like, you're like, I think I was like 10 or something. She's like, you're growing up too fast. Like try to be a kid. Like just, do kid things. Think about being a kid. Like just you're worrying too much about your sisters and stuff like that. And so I forget what it was, but she was teaching me how to like breathe and do these certain techniques to like kind of slow down, trying to silence the noise a little bit. And it really stuck with me as like a little kid. And I didn't know I was doing this like I wasn't aware of it, that I was naturally going through these like kind of back and forth dialogues with myself, trying to figure out, what do I do next? You know what I mean? And because I didn't have my parents, around a lot, I was looking towards like other people and things and stuff to get like guidance from, you know what I mean? So I think luckily I got into like reading a lot. I still am like a crazy reader. I'm watching motivational stuff, right? I'm looking for guidance that wasn't there for me naturally. And just a lot of stuff I picked up and learned along the way of just, like mental health isn't like a bad thing like they used to like try to frame it, at least from my background, where stuff I've learned from other people in videos, it's like, no, it's actually okay. It's like maintenance for the mind, for the body, for the soul. You know what I mean? And so just picking up little nuggets here and there just throughout life, a lot of them from mistakes, right? Like that's probably the biggest one. You mess up, you know what I mean? The best thing you can do if you can is look at like, okay, where did I mess up? Like, how did I screw this thing up and what can I learn from it next time? And I think leading all that up was when I got to New Hampshire, when I moved here, and my wife, I told her, I was like, I'll move up there. I'll get a job. I just finished school for like plumbing and HVAC and electrical, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to school and I learned a little bit about all of them. And when we were living here, I got to New Hampshire. It's a lot more relaxed, quiet. And I came from Arizona, the city, where it was like crazy loud. So I'm still trying to adjust. And I remember we were having an argument, and I'm not the type of person who like yells a lot, but man, I get in this mode where I just want to win the argument. And that's how I used to be, like just anything to win the argument. And I remember we got to a point where like I was just talking over my wife, my then girlfriend, but now wife, and interrupting her, just all about trying to win. And I remember like she started crying, and I was like, holy crap, I felt like shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, what am I doing? Like, if I like the person I love, they're crying, you know what I mean? I'm like, and so again, it kept reminding me of like my parents, and I'd see them fight stuff, and I'm like, I don't want this. And so it wasn't like an immediate thing in that moment of like, oh, I'm going to make a change. It was like, okay, something's got to change though. Like, I don't know what it is. And so I really spent a lot of time, it's probably been 5 years now, just working on like anger management, but also like being a better communicator, being able to listen better. You know what I mean? I told myself, I was like, those things, like if I can get like those things dialed in, or at least like work on them, it's going to help in a lot of areas. And I didn't really know that it was going to expand into my business and other stuff. I just wanted to be a better communicator for my wife, because I knew that like if I can do that, when we have kids, hopefully I'll be a better communicator and listener for my children. And it's helped so much, in business with my kids, my wife, like it's helped my relationships, and so it's just a matter of like really processing when something goes wrong and then trying to brainstorm like, how can I correct course?
Man, this is just such wonderful stuff to hear. You have a real growth mindset and like a real aptitude to learn and want to change and grow, and also to seek out like the mentors that you didn't necessarily have growing up is pretty extraordinary as well. As a dad now, how do you share the challenges or turbulence of everyday life in fatherhood? Do you have a community of dads that you do that with? And I also ask specifically because what you just shared, like I want all men to hear and recognize, like that we can be great men by getting therapy. We can be great men by working on ourselves. We can be great men by making mistakes and then continuing to grow from that. And that piece that you added, which was so beautiful, is it also made my business better, which is so cool too, right? I mean, it helps everywhere. But how are you, in terms of sharing this if it's not on a podcast with me, how do you share this type of vulnerability with the guys that are in your life?
Yeah. So, again, I always like to provide context on how I got to the mindset of what I'm doing now. And again, heavy reader. So there was another really easy to read book called The Coffee Bean Book. You can read it like literally in like less than an hour. It's such a good book. But it talks about this guy who learned these lessons about, that the analogy goes that like, if you're if you're a carrot, you know what I mean? You drop it in a boiling water, becomes soft, right? Like that's kind of like a victim mentality. You can kind of go down this rabbit hole of like that. So it's like, don't be like the carrot, but then also if you drop an egg in there, the outside shell's already hard. when the boiling water makes the inside even harder now too, right? Like that's the same analogy for a person. I also don't want to go down that route either, have resentment and all this stuff and just go down this dark path. But he said, if you go like a coffee bean, what happens, you drop the coffee bean in there, right? It changes the environment. It actually changes the water. You know what I mean? So it says you could be like that as a human, right? Be a coffee bean. Every environment you go into, every person you have interaction with, try to spread positivity, love, try to serve others. And I was like, holy crap, like, yeah, I can do that. I actually like doing that. There's something addicting about it. And so again, I didn't have no plan. It was just more of like, guess I'm gonna just be a coffee bean, man. I'm always going to try to think about that. So, speeding up to now, through like a lot of the networking I do with my business, I love that better than like cold calling or like regular advertisements because of the relationships you get to build. And I've met a lot of amazing guys, fathers through that method of business. I met them through business first, but just because our relationship, we're going to the gym, we're getting lunch, breakfast, we're talking about life, we're getting to know each other. And I feel grateful enough and blessed that like the ones that I have come across with, they're all really big supporters on being vulnerable and open with each other. You know what I mean? Like I can't think of any one of them where I couldn't call up right now and tell them I'm going through something, you know what I mean? Or even cry on the phone if I wanted to, you know what I mean? Like that's not something I'm used to from how I grew up. And so when you find people like that, you know what I mean? It's like, you definitely want to hold on to that. You want to keep watering that garden, right? You want to keep tending to that relationship. And so it's great now. Like we don't have like an official group or anything. I think I've joined a couple local Facebook groups that I want to, when I have more time to engage more, because apparently they meet up, they go on hikes and stuff. And they're trying to do the same thing, right? They're trying to bring more fathers together. So I was like, you know what, at the very least, let me jump in the group and be a little bit involved. But I know eventually when I have more time, I definitely want to be more involved. I feel like I could learn from these guys, but also anything that I've gone through, I could share, right? I think that's the responsibility we should have on ourselves of like, if there's something working for you, or you gain some insight through something, like please share it with others, right? It could help somebody else. And so that's what I try to do with the current people we have now. Like I know carpenters, general contractors, plumbers will meet up, but I love that like we can talk business, but we can also talk about life. You know what I mean? And so again, I'm always going into conversations assuming that I can learn something from the other person I'm talking to, whether I know you or like you're a stranger, right? There's always something, some wisdom or nuggets to pick up.
Beautiful. I love that. What's keeping you up at night right now as a dad, especially with such young kids?
Man, a lot, dude. like the obvious stuff, right? The obvious stuff of like, am I doing better than my dad? Like, am I being aware enough? Like, I have 3 kids, so it's like, I'm a troubleshooter. So I'm like, all right, is there a way where I can make sure that I'm not making the middle child feel like a middle child, or like the oldest feels like they got all this pressure on them? You know what I mean? Or like the youngest is getting spoiled, right? Like I'm just going through these things that like are in my head. And so I think I was just up at night, like, am I doing good enough? You know what I mean? Like, and so it doesn't like, it's weird. It's right. It's like a balance of like, there's moments where it's really tough on me where like, I just really can't sleep. Maybe I don't know why the day went bad or something, being hard on myself. But other times I try to use it as fuel too. Like, okay, you know what I mean? If you think that like, you're not doing good enough, like, look inward, right? And run like a stock on like what's going on, stuff that you can maybe, change. Like for me, if I'm not moving, like physically moving, man, my body just starts to shut down. I start to get irritable, just not a good. So I got to go on at least walks or something. And there's been moments where I'm like, man, you're just in a bad mood for some reason. Like, I don't know why, I just woke up pissed. And I realize now, right? Not prior, but now I'm like, you know what? Let me just go on a walk and put my headphones in. Don't talk to anybody. I've even texted my team before, like, hey, I'm in a bad mood. I'm going to be no good to anybody right now. Like, it's just going to be not pretty. So give me an hour or two. I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to shut my phone off. I need that time. And sure enough, man, I'll go do it and get back, and I'm a different person. You know what I mean? I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to freaking, work with the team again and stuff. But I think it's like, first, let me just make sure I'm taking stock of my own emotions and everything first before I start spreading it to other people, right? The coffee bean, I don't want to spread freaking negativity or that energy on everyone. I want to spread positivity. So I have to kind of have these guardrails to regulate myself before I go interact with other people, And so just, that's something I'm always just trying to work on.
That's a beautiful emotional regulation skill that you have. Have you found ways to sort of teach that to your oldest at least, or to your two oldest kids? I mean, do you talk about like when daddy's not feeling in a great mood, I like to go for a walk? Do you sort of speak your thought process on that, or anything similar?
Yeah, so we try to be as open, as transparent as we can with the kids at a safe level, right? Like, not trying to stress them out and trauma dump on them, you know what I mean? But we try to get them to understand that, like, we're not perfect either, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're your parents. Yeah, we've been here longer than you, of course. So we're trying to teach you how to navigate life, right? Try to get you the tools so that way when you're an adult, you can kind of navigate this world on your own terms and, think for yourself. And so we're honest with them where it's like, okay, dad is in a bad mood right now, but it's not you. Just so you understand, it has nothing to do with you. I was talking to a customer, something went wrong at work, and I'm gonna head to the gym or something, right? Okay, cool. So I don't want them, because like how it is, like if no one, like me and my wife, we went through this where it's like I'd get home, and I used to be the type where I used to just internalize everything, right? I feel like that's a lot of men do that. You just kind of push it away, whether it's pain or emotional stuff, you just tough it out, and you just I go into this zone where I won't maybe even talk a lot, or I'm just watching TV and not really responsive. So back in the day when I wasn't communicating that stuff, my wife used to come up with her own stuff in her head, right? Like, maybe he's mad at me. Maybe all this stuff's going on. I remember there was one time she's like, thought I was cheating or something. You know what I mean? Like, it was like crazy because I wasn't communicating. I wasn't telling her what was going on in my life. So she would come up with her own stuff. So we realized, no, let's just be open books with each other, whether it's good, bad news, whatever, like just whatever. So we tell each other everything. So then that helped. That helped a lot. So with the kids, same thing. Like, hey, if my wife is not feeling good, she'll tell them, hey, today I'm not feeling good, my stomach hurts or whatever. Like, so, we're not going to go to the park today, but we can do a couple other things around the house. So we try to just always talk to them and let them know, like, when we make mistakes, it's going to happen. Like, whenever me and my wife, we've get into arguments before, we try to make it a point to apologize to each other in front of them. You know what I mean? So that they can see that, like, you're going to make mistakes. There's even arguments will happen, but if you love someone, you know what I mean? You figure it out, and you apologize, and you hug, and you kiss, and we do it in front of them so like we can be examples for them. And then we'll go talk to them too. Like, hey, again, we had an argument, and again, we try to do it in a safe way and explain it to them. Like, it's going to happen. Stuff like that happens. Emotions happen, right? Like, you don't want to be not angry. Like, if you're going to get angry, it's fine. But if you feel that you're upset and you're going to be like upset like that towards your sister or towards me, maybe it might be better if you just kind of went and hung out in the room for a little bit. Maybe you just laid down or read a book or just something, right? And so they used to get super mad about it, but now I'm so proud to see at least Ellie. David's still working on his 6, right? He's a crazy dude. But Ellie, I'm so proud of her. Like, one time she was mad and I didn't have to say anything. I was cooking eggs and she just grabbed a couple things and went upstairs. And I thought, okay, big tantrum time. And it was just quiet. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden she comes down and she's got a couple things with her, some trash or whatever. And she's like, yeah, I just decided, I'm going to clean my room a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's pretty good. I'm like, it's a healthy way to get out some of that frustration. You know what I mean? And so just, I don't know, creating this environment in the house where like, there isn't like this hierarchy of like, oh, you're the little kid, so you're dumb. Like, you're not going to understand. It's like, no, kids are actually super, like, they absorb everything, man. Like, we got to give them more credit, dude. Like, they'll bring up stuff from like, oh, you heard that, or like you picked up on that. Like, I'm talking on the phone or something. And so I told my wife, I was like, we got to figure out a system where we're giving them enough respect too, you know what I mean? Where they feel heard. They don't feel like we're talking down to them all the time. And again, it's complicated, but that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep this open dialogue and tell them, hey, even if you did something wrong, I'm going to be upset, but I'd rather you tell me the truth than lie to me. You know what I mean? Like we could work with the truth. We could figure it out. And you could tell sometimes they don't want to tell you, but they're crying, and then they end up telling you the truth. But I'm glad. I want to be that safe space for them where they can come to me even for like something crazy. And this applies even when they're teenagers or adults. So I'm trying to set this stuff up now so we have that family dynamic later.
Oh, this is amazing. And it's so true, right? I mean, they are going to mirror not our words, but our actions. So if you're showing how to handle emotions properly, how to repair, how to sit with your big feelings and not project them onto other people, they're going to start to pick that up too. sounds absolutely wonderful. I wish I could be a child in the life of your family, because it sounds like a great place to learn how to develop emotionally. It's very, very cool. And what about like school? How, there's so many um, places for us to like put our anxiety, our worries, right? Like you're doing this great stuff at home, you're balancing work, you're trying to be communicative with your partner, and then you've also got school. Are you like, do you lean in hard on that, or is it a place where you kind of just let it happen, or how engaged you guys get on that front?
Again, man, feel super grateful and blessed that my wife and I were able to figure out, and I don't even know how we did, but we figured out how to make it work so she can stay home, because she's a graphic designer. Like, she went to school and she actually had a whole career doing that. And every now and then she'll do some freelance stuff. But man, we were able to make it work where she could stay home as soon as we got pregnant with Ellie, because pregnancy has always been really tough on her. And so that was originally just a plan. All right, let's figure it out. You stay home. It's really rough. And then it turned into my wife realizing like she really loves like teaching and like education. And she was doing really well with Ellie leading up to before she'd have to actually go to school. And just through lots of conversations and just research, we actually went to do homeschooling, and so I have to give all the credit to my wife, man. Like, I helped with what I could, I'm with tech stuff, if I had to help her research stuff, but man, she put in like the work to like really understand all the ins and outs, how to navigate the whole thing. It was a whole process. And she's doing amazing now. And so again, I feel so blessed now to finally get to this point where I'll be able to help sometimes. You know what I mean? Like if I finish a lot of stuff in the morning and I got a little bit lighter of a day, I like to go upstairs and like hang out with them for a little bit and help one of them with their math, or with some other topic like science or something they're learning. Or sometimes I'll be able to go with them to like their co-op with the other homeschool kids, or on these field trips and stuff, but yeah, my wife, she puts like everything into their education, man. Like, and it's cool because she uses her graphic design skills to create presentations and stuff. And I use AI a ton in my business. And so it was interesting to get her some of the tools that I use, like image making or like Gemini, Claude. And it was so fascinating to see her using AI to help her with like homeschool. You know what I mean? Like she'll use her graphic design with some AI and doing research, and she'll put together these amazing presentations and just really flying with it. And I've actually did recently an AI presentation on one of our co-ops with a whole bunch of little kids talking about the safety, and you know what I mean? And so it's so cool to start kind of bringing the best of both of our worlds together. And we bring our kids along with us again, right? Lead by example. They get to see us there, like doing these things. And so we're just trying to find, we're just trying to stack experiences, right? Like that's way better than materialistic things. It's like, okay, if we can just go and do a lot of these things, I feel like they're going to remember those memories more. You know what I mean? And so it's not perfect. I don't want to even try to come off as like every day is perfect or it's all beautiful. It's not. But with compounding action, right, towards trying to make this work, every day does get a little easier. Or when something does go wrong, you can kind of bounce back a little easier, right? So we still have fights. Kids still have their little tantrums and stuff. But because of the stuff we've been working on so hard, we have things that help us try to bounce back or figure this out or talk about it. You know what I mean? But doing the homeschool has been amazing to be able to be in their lives during like that critical time where they're just sponges. And what do they say, up to like 7 or whatever? After that, man, there's some core things that are just, it's going to be hard to kind of bring in new things, right? Or change something about them. So I'm just super happy that those part of our lives, we get to have the most impact.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. What, when you do make mistakes, with your kids, with your partner, what do you do to keep sort of the shame at bay? And because it sounds like you do a good job of, like accepting the responsibility and repairing afterwards. But, a lot of men will kind of take their mistake, particularly these days with their children, and internalize it as like, I'm just not that good at something that I love more than anything in the world. What has been sort of the means by which you sort of reject that argument so you can continue to like grow your confidence?
Think like, don't suppress it. Like, don't lie to yourself. I would be lying if I said I still didn't have those thoughts. You know what I mean? So it still happens. You know what I mean? Like, especially like right now. Like right now, I'm trying to balance all this crazy shit that like we talked about, right? With family, work, and life, and my health, and like just everything. And so now I'm like, all right, I'm playing. I guess I like to play life on hard mode. Like I'm starting another business. You know what I mean? So it's like that brings on a whole other levels of stress. So then what happens is like I'm finding myself in these moments where like I was trying to get home in time to take David to like karate, or help pick something up for Katie on the way home, and I didn't, and I forgot. You know what I mean? And now she's upset. You know what I mean? Or maybe I was short with one of the kids because of that, and so like it comes to you immediately. Like I'll go and I'll that's why I have to go do those things. That's why I have to go to the gym or go on the walk or have a moment of time for silence, because it does come and it's like, wow, you really fucked up, man. Like, or like, can you do this? You know what I mean? Like, are you doing too much? Like, are you pushing yourself too much? Like, and so it comes in, man. It comes flying in. But the first thing I like to try to do is to not suppress it or lie to myself. Like, okay, you fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, what happened? You know what I mean? And I personally, I haven't got diagnosed for it, but I think I might have ADHD. You know what I mean? Because a lot of stuff my wife and I have watched or read about, a lot of the stuff I realized that I do. You know what I mean? Like a lot. And that helped a lot too, because when I was able to I educate myself and learn that there could be these other things that have names for them. And then there's people out there in communities that help each other get better about that kind of stuff. And so once I realized, okay, I might have ADHD, I probably should go get diagnosed now and start looking and getting the help. And then once I realized that, I'm like, okay, there's stuff that I can do to not fix this, but at least start working on it. And that gave me hope. You know what I mean? Of like, okay, like it's not necessarily me as a whole. These are just things that are like happening to me, and I need to figure out how to regulate or talk to someone, right? Like the biggest thing again, man, is finding other men who are willing to talk about these things and being vulnerable. I didn't have that most of my life. I just recently started having these last couple of years, but being able to call someone, and you start to realize, like, once you start having some of these friends, you know what I mean? Some of them, who you can talk to for different things. And so depending on what kind of shame or mistake I made or something that messed up, I'll call my friend Andrew, or maybe I'll call my friend Chris, because maybe they've been going through something similar. Like I have a friend who he goes to therapy, like a few different therapists for many different things. And so whenever I call and I'm looking possibly like going to see another therapist or something in that area, I know I can call him and just trauma dump on him, right? You know what I mean? Like those are like my safe places where I can trauma dump. There's some places you don't want to do it. In these cases, I was able to find some people, but it's not easy. You know what I mean? But I think it does help though when you stop lying to yourself, and when you can at least find, even if it's one person that you can talk to and bounce like this off of, someone that you feel safe, that you can be vulnerable and speak to that level, like no sugarcoating anything. You know what I mean? And then someone, and again, I would say too, someone who, if you can find someone who can help you by telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, helps too, right? You know what I mean? Like for me, I'll convince myself of a lot of things of like, well, I'll justify something, you know what I mean? Well, if this would have happened, it wouldn't have happened to you, you know what I mean? Or if you had more time to do this, and it's easy to go down that slippery slope of convincing yourself or justifying, what happened wasn't your fault, you know what I mean? But I think just, again, owning your shit, man, having people to talk to and not lying to yourself, I think at least helps. It's the beginning to something that could, help you.
I mean, those are some of the healthiest things we can do to stay ahead of our shame, to build healthy relationships and family. I mean, it's really wonderful to hear another dad really talk about it so openly and authentically. So I really appreciate that. We love to end our podcast every week when we have a guest, because fatherhood is so messy. I'd love to ask dads, what about like a really hilarious, messy life incident where maybe someone vomited in the car or, couldn't make it to the bathroom on time, and you got young kids. So you must have an insane story that you can share.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think to kind of end it with is I think it was David. When we had David, it was man, it was wild, right? Because he's only 2 years older than Ellie, and so having a 2-year-old and like a fresh baby in the house, man, it's crazy. So we were in that mode, right? Like a bunch of us are, where you're trying to balance a bunch of things all at once. So I remember I had David in like one arm, and I had just changed his diaper. He wasn't fully dressed. I think like his shirt was like half on still, but I'm getting down the stairs because I need to make him a bottle. And again, there was like a million things, and I forget. My wife was like in the garage doing something. And I remember like I was pouring the milk, and I started to feel like wet, like down like my arm and my leg. And at first I thought I was spilling the milk on myself. I'm like, man, am I that tired? But I guess apparently I didn't put the diaper on all the way. And when he went to go pee, it like was just like the perfect opening out the diaper through the leg, like right down my arm, like my pants. It was on the floor, man. It was just crazy. Like, you know what I mean? And so I was just like, how? Like, you know what I mean? So it was just one of those things. I had to stop what I'm doing. I was already late to a million things, you know? And in the moment, you're like, damn it. But now I just laugh about it. I'm like, that's wild. Like somehow the perfect trajectory to just get all the way through and cause so much like damage, you know what I mean? So, you know, that was one that we laugh about now.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, Edward, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for being such, honestly, a healthy role model for dads. It was really great to hear how you think about things, process things, and that you still carry the same fears and weights and anxieties that we all do. You've just got some really healthy ways to sort of process them. So thanks again, and hope to have you back soon.
Absolutely. You know, again, if anybody ever wants to reach out and talk, as you can tell, I love talking. I love sharing anything that can help other dads and other people. So I appreciate you having me on, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Ambitious Dads Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation and want more insights on balancing ambition and fatherhood, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upcoming episode. Check out the links in the description for our newsletter and more resources to help you live intentionally as a dad. See you in the next episode.